All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this webinar to introduce the newest addition to the iMIS Data Management Suite, the iWorkflow module. I'm JT Fiedler. I'm the Product and Sales Advisor here at TSI, and I'm joined by not only Doug Morris, Founder and Chief Product Officer, but also Elizabeth Wojcik, who is our Director of Business Development. So if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to use the Q&A or the chat, and we can get those addressed. But quickly touching on what we're actually going to discuss today, we're going to touch on kind of the benefits of automation. Automation seems to be a buzzword now, so kind of outlining why automation is so important. And then obviously the bulk of our time will be, what is iWorkflow? What can you do with it? And then we'll kind of jump into the solution and walk through two kind of real life examples. With that, I'll pass things over to Doug.
Thanks, JT, and welcome everyone. Thanks for starting your day with us. JT found this slide. Actually, it's pretty cool McKinsey slide out there. And I think it just sort of talks about the potential for automation. You know, I think everything today is chat GPT and you can do all these great things, but there's so many basic things that are done today manually that could be automated. You think about automation, it not only saves staff time, but it improves accuracy. And so there's just a lot of neat things you can do. We're challenged sometimes at CSI because there's so many things you can do with the data management suite that sometimes we're like, it's just too many. And then you add in Power Automate and we really get lost. So we're always looking out to you to see, what are you doing with these products? We're always finding out new and innovative things that are being done by you guys. But we actually have some exciting news, and we just figured this out about an hour ago. And that is that over 500 organizations are now using iDMS. So we're super excited about that. We keep our support staff really busy. As you know, support is included with the product. You guys are always challenging us, and we're always trying to innovate and make the product better. So on that note, after about a year's worth of work, we went from having 4 modules in iDMS to having 6. We're going to be talking about iWorkflow today. iHook is a portion of iTransfer that allows third parties to write back to iMIS. It's a cost-effective way that we wanted to. When you have that third party that wants to write to iMIS, you don't want to try and teach them the REST API. That's iHook, and we'll be covering that later. And we just had fun with the name. And the fact is, I own the place, so I thought the name was cool. We're going to keep it. Okay, so there you go. We're going to talk about iWorkflow here. What is iWorkflow? If you're familiar with iDMS and you use iSchedule, it's iSchedule on steroids. And I sit on a support call every morning, and boy, do we hear from you and what you want this product to do. So feedback, right? Well, the number one thing is you wanted the ability to link these individual iUpdate tasks together. For example, right? Don't start task 2. Oh, JT, we should change that. Don't start task 3 until task 2 completes. We'll fix that on the next one. But it's the opposite up here right now in America. So the ability to stop and say, wait for this task. Today, right now, you're going out there and you're choosing different iUpdate tasks, and you're staggering the time, and you're saying, boy, I hope this one ends at 1 minute past the hour, because I'm going to start this next one at 2 minutes past the hour. And then all it takes is a task to take too long and things don't work out. So we wanted to be able to link everything together and have them pause. So a great example of this is we have people that are really using iDMS, and they're calling it from Rise pages. So when a new member joins, or a new member pays their dues, or donors, we want to be able to fire multiple tasks. So maybe update their member type, bill them for dues, maybe add an activity. I want to do all these things. And everyone's like, well, how do I do that when I can only call one iSchedule step? And so that got really kind of tricky. The next thing we said, well, we want to add some logic, right? Don't do task 2 if task 1 fails. JT is going to show you a really cool way to actually speed up iDMS, right? He's going to actually show you something where he looks to see, is there any work to do in this job? Oh, right, live, being fixed. Thanks, Elizabeth. That's why we've got her on the call. So let's get back down there. All right, task. All right, well, almost done. Every time Elizabeth changes it, we have to go and refresh here. All right. The next thing we said, well, gosh, if we have this great product that links all the iUpdate together, why can't we link a whole bunch of other things together? Not only iUpdate tasks, if you are using our iTransfer module to push large amounts of data out to third parties, coming this month, I hope the ability to make iMIS API calls, and even text manager, and JT is going to talk about that. So we're now linking all of these things together with this super powerful automation tool. And then once we have the ability to make the API calls, you'll be able to do things like refresh dynamic groups. We could have added that to iUpdate, but it doesn't fit. It's just a weird API call. So we're going to be able to do those. Okay. Let's talk about what a workflow is. I fought the name of this product, and unfortunately, there's really no other name for it. A workflow is a series of tasks, and basically, we want to start them one of 3 ways. Manually, someone goes in and clicks a button and says go. 2, scheduled. You're definitely used to that with iSchedule, the ability to have a task or a workflow on a scheduled basis. And then I talked about webhook. Webhook is you're going to normally do that from Rise, where something has happened on a Rise page or Rise page loads, or you click a button, we're going to fire a webhook that's going to launch an entire workflow. If you're a Power Automate user, you're like, hey, yeah, these kind of match Power Automate. Yes, they do. What can you do? Wow, there are so many things you can do with iWorkflow. Now, you're like, JT, why do you have a bunch of these circled? Well, iWorkflow really does a lot of things, but the ones that have boxes around them require an iTransfer license. So if you add iWorkflow and you don't have iTransfer, you could do things like run iUpdate jobs. You can delay, you can do the workflow management, don't start this task. You can fire off text manager, you can execute JavaScript, you can get public links. So all the tasks talk to each other. It's super, super powerful. If you're on the geeky side, you're going to love this stuff. If you're not on the geeky side, you're going to actually like it a lot. And JT's going to show you some just normal, mere mortal uses of it. All right, the workflow editor. This is it. And JT's going to take you live into the product, but take a look at this. I've got a task that runs every hour. What does it do? It unlocks accounts. I want to unlock everybody who's locked themselves. Well, what else do you want to do? Well, I'd like to deactivate anybody who's expired. And maybe I want to update paid through dates. Maybe I've got something where a third party is updating things and I want to kick up a paid through date. What if I want to process new member applications? So all sorts of fun things can be linked together here to make up a workflow, if you will. So this is where it gets really, really, really powerful. And you can do all sorts of really fun things here. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited to see what you guys all do with this. Of course, Jake is all happy with lead developer on this. We get a lot of feedback. I need more information about what's going on. What happened last night? Why didn't my jobs run? What happened? So we have very detailed logs that provide insight into what's been going on while your automation is taking care of all your challenges. Lots of other cool stuff. One of the things we heard from you was, wow, Doug, thanks. I've got 100 iSchedule tasks. Some run monthly, some run weekly, some run daily, some run hourly. Could I please get a calendar view so I have a clue as to what's going on? And then we said, well, gosh, if people are going to be creating workflows, let's say you took 100 iUpdate tasks and made it into 5 workflows. Or 5 workflows. And inside each of those workflows, you had 20 tasks. Well, how do you find where a certain task is? So I pushed back on the team. I said, I need the ability to search. People are going to go a little crazy with this, and I need the ability to find, gosh, I know I have an IQA being used for a task out there somewhere, find it. The ability to execute custom JavaScript. HTTP polling, super powerful. We always had it with iSchedule, is a little tricky to implement. but now you can do it. So we can wait for tasks to complete. Some cool math and conversions. You can, mix and match. As I said, you've got iTransfer, you've got iUpdate, and the last one, pure sales thing, built using the latest web technologies for a rich, responsive editing experience. So there's some pure sales malarkey for you. So enough of me. Let's get JT show us some cool stuff with the product. JT, take it away.
All right, thank you, Doug. So we're going to focus on kind of two examples. The first one is unlocking accounts. So how this workflow is going to kind of act is the first step is we're actually wanting to get a count of the number of people who lock themselves out. So we just want to have kind of that tracking or historical analysis and populate it to a panel. So we'll be able to have those insights of how many people are actually locking themselves out. And so you can pick the frequency you want your job to run on, and then you can display that panel if you wanted to, even in on a dashboard, or you could export it and use it in Excel, make it pretty, or even just use iMIS and use some graphing in iMIS. From there, we want to write an activity for those people who lock themselves out. And so this is taking it a step further of being able to, if we wanted to, write a process automation plus task that actually will send them an email saying, hey, your account has been unlocked. You could even have this be triggered from a button that you have on Rise. Maybe click here if you've locked yourself out. And so that can even kick off this workflow to begin. And then last thing, most important, is we want to unlock their account. So this is going to give them the ability to log back in or attempt to log back in. So what does that look like on the iWorkflow front? So from here, this is kind of what you will see iWorkflow as. So you will be able to either easily just create a new workflow. You could use our wizard to walk through. So we wanted the experience to be very user-friendly. And so going into unlock user accounts, what we'll do is we'll go into each step. So this first one, this is kind of the name of the job. So this is how we're going to schedule it to run. You'll notice this schedule builder, similar to what you saw with iSchedule, you'd be able to pick the frequency you want. This next step, we're actually going and we're finding everyone who has locked themselves out. So we have an IQA out there, and it's going to return everyone who locked themselves out. And then we added this gate. So essentially, if nobody's locked themselves out, then just go and exit the job. There's nothing that we need to do. But if there are results, that's where we're going to then insert that count of locked out users to a panel we created in iMIS. And then we're going to run that IDMS iUpdate job of unlocking the locked accounts. So what does this look like in real time? So if we go to iMIS, we look at our locked user accounts. When we run it, we'll notice there's one individual who has actually locked themselves out. So when we go back into the job and we just simply hit run now, it's successfully queued. And so what that is going to do is it's going to run that IQA, find if there's been anybody who has locked themselves out. And if so, then it's going to simply track that in the panel that we created. And then it's going to go ahead and unlock the locked account. So this is obviously just one example. I'll touch on another example, but with iWorkflow, you can really think of with your iScheduled tasks, what do you wish you could have automated essentially? So when this task finishes, what should the next step be? So it really opens the doors into a lot of different possibilities and gives you a lot more flexibility in what you can actually link and do.
And I'll think that there's one really cool thing that JT threw in here that I love, and that's the count of locked out users. That's something we don't think to ever track, right? And so we create automation that automatically unlocks users. But what if that's unlocking 20 users a day? I would tell you, you probably have something that could be done better in terms of your username and password policy. What if you found that they were always locking themselves out on weekends, but never during the week? I don't know what that means, but these are very interesting data points that you can now use. So sometimes, or what JT showed here is use your automation to provide you data about what your members or donors are doing. That gets super, super powerful. We always forget to do that until about a year from now when someone says, well, how many people are being locked out every day? You go, oh, shoot, I forgot to track that. So super easy with iMIS to track that, super easy with iWorkflow now to put that into a workflow. So cool.
Yes. And so if we go back, I'll just refresh this page. We'll go and rerun the locked user accounts. And when we run it, there are no people who are locked out. So iWorkflow was able to successfully update that user to be unlocked so they can attempt to log back in, as well as it tracked in that panel that we created. All right. Moving on to the second example, we're going to continue on the user credentials kind of route. So this one is creating user credentials for those individuals in iMIS that don't have user credentials already. So what does this workflow kind of walk us through? So what we're going to do is we're going to insert people who don't have user credentials into a panel with their username. Now, this can be specified in your IQA of what the username should be, if it should be an email address, if it should be their first name, it should be first initial, last name. So you can create and kind of customize what that username should be. Then we're actually going to also utilize Text Manager. So if you're licensed for Text Manager, we're just going to simply text them a message with that newly created username and a link to reset their password. So that way, when they get the text message, they know their username and they can just reset their password on the go. And we're going to add a simple delay function to wait for text to be sent out, because once those texts have sent out, we want to clean out the panel data. So we want to essentially use this panel as kind of like a mini data warehouse of it's temporarily storing it, and then we're going to delete it once we're done doing what we want to do with it. So what does that look like? Bouncing back to iWorkflow, we will simply go into what this looks like. Once again, you still have that scheduled basis, but we are going to also populate user credentials. So this is going to be utilizing an iUpdate task that we created. That's just going to be simply inserting that information into the panel that we created. Then utilizing Text Manager, we have a texting credentials campaign that we set up. So this is what we are going to use to trigger text messaging to, or text messages to be sent to a given member that has a mobile phone on file. So it's going to send them their username and it's going to send their reset link as well. This is where it gets fun. You can actually wait for or delay the additional steps. So other than, and I'll just jump here, going down, you do have like wait for completion, fail on no records, fail on iUpdate error. So this delay is just essentially giving Text Manager the time to send out those text messages just to make sure that we have everyone covered. Once everybody has their text and their username and they're resetting their password, we want to simply just clean up that panel. So we want to delete whoever is in there because now we know that they have user credentials, they got a text message, and they're in the process of updating their user credentials so they can log in. This is really powerful because of the fact that giving them a username and allowing them to reset their password allows them to log into your site and recognize the value that your organization provides them. So it's very beneficial for them as well as your organization to allow them to interact with you, use your resources, get involved with the community, and things along those lines. So what does this look like? Well, we'll go ahead and once again, we'll run that. And so it's going to bring you to kind of that same screen of it being queued, and it's going to go ahead and run through all of those various steps. So it's just going to run that IQA, and I probably should have shown you that there was one person named Jerry. Let's see if it already ran. So no. So here is email. We set the password, so you can kind of be creative. Obviously, with privacy and things like that, you will just want to send the link to their password reset. And so with iWorkflow, it's running in the background. So the nice thing here is that you don't have to stay on this screen or anything like that. And now it's already on the wait to send. So before it cleans up the panel, it is going to wait for all the text to send. And just so you know that it did text, I will, and we'll see how this works. Oh, no, it's not going to work very well. Maybe it is. There's the text message that, now I disappeared, that people will see.
Can't see it. So... Can't see the text. We don't believe you. Can't see it. Oh, now you're completely gone. Oh, really impressive.
Yes. So that way you can easily get people to recognize and be able to log into your organization's website and really take advantage of what your organization offers to the community. Now, those obviously were just two examples. As you kind of think about more or additional examples and what works for your organization, you just need to really think of what do I wish iSchedule did that it doesn't do today. That's how you can kind of assess if iWorkflow is right for you. So quick notes and comparison on the two. So you can license one or the other. You won't be able to license them together. Essentially, like Doug mentioned, iWorkflow is like an iSchedule Plus. So you'll have that same functionality and even more enhanced features. If you might be asking yourself, well, which one should I go with? So if your organization has very straightforward tasks, they don't need to have steps, anything like that, then you can stay with iSchedule. iWorkflow is really geared towards those organizations that want to be able to group tasks in a single job. They want to run iUpdate, text manager, different kind of third-party applications all in one kind of go, trigger multiple tasks at once. If you have both iUpdate and text manager and want to incorporate it like you just saw, then these are the kinds of things that you want to reflect on, because iWorkflow might be the better solution for you and your organization. That's everything that we had to cover and give you a little taste of iWorkflow. Like Doug mentioned, we're very, very excited to see what organizations do with this and what workflows they can, you guys can create. So want to pause it, open it up for any questions. Feel free to use the chat, Q&A, anything like that. And just so you have it, as always, and like Doug mentioned, if you have any of our solutions, support's included. So any how-to questions or, hey, I'm running into this error, you can always reach out to support@csiinc.com. If you're like, I want iWorkflow now, how do I get it? You can always send an email to sales@csiinc.com and I can assist you with getting information on that. Additional documentation can be found just using docs.csiinc.com. We have a full-blown site for iWorkflow that is now on the docs site, and you will be able to go to it, read more about it, and the various actions you have available. If you haven't already, we do have a listserv as well. So this is kind of just allowing you to have a collaborative environment to ask questions, bounce ideas off of one another, see how other organizations are using CSI's tools. And so that can be joined by using this csi.ms/listserv. Lots of talking.
Questions, would love to see in the chat thoughts, ideas. Hey, looks great. Hey, I want my 30 minutes back. Yes. Is there a way to initiate instant updates? Yes, you do that. We have we have a client that initiates instant updates whenever the roster is changed for an organization. So that is when you use a triggered task or a triggered workflow. So you do not wait. We did a webinar on it. We've actually got it on our documentation site about how to call the webhook from Rise. And so it's basically something happening on Rise or any web page that you are able to edit. And you can call both an iSchedule task as well as a workflow, which is really cool. So there's no waiting. So you, JT, Zoe, JT can get you our, we did a webinar on this and he can get that over. It's also on YouTube, but he'll get that over to you.
Yeah.
You get a point for asking a question. No one else is saying anything. I wonder if we just wasted their time, JT. It only took a year to write this. So, you know, I guess, you know, we'll just go back to the drawing board. All right. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you everyone for joining. If after this call you have questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out to sales@csiinc.com and we can get you help. Like I mentioned before, oh, and there is, yes, so you will get the recording link. Probably will send that out tomorrow or the following day, so be on the lookout for that.
Thanks,
but with that, we will give you 30 minutes back into your day.
Thanks, everyone.